Dominica has secured the number 5 spot in Travel Plus Leisure's prestigious 25 Best Islands to Visit Around the World list for 2024. This recognition underscores Dominica's growing appeal among travelers and highlights our natural beauty and welcoming atmosphere. The article dated July 9th, 2024 says, and I quote, Dominica entices travelers with unspoilt natural beauty and eco-adventures. The island is nicknamed the Nature Island for its dense rainforests, volcanoes, hot springs, waterfalls, and black sand beaches. The underwater world also attracts scuba divers and snorkelers with healthy, vividly colorful coral reefs, marine life, and volcanic formations. Thank you, Travel Plus Leisure readers, for that 92.47 score. That means Dominica got an A, so we are A country. Thank you very much for that. We appreciate it. And when you come to Dominica, we want you to explore the nature island, and not just on the island. We also want you to get underwater. Let's talk maritime, yes, because there's lots to explore and there's lots to discover in our waters. If you're joining for the first time, good morning to you and welcome to Talking Tourism. My name is Monel Alexis, and as I say every Wednesday, it's always my pleasure to be in your company. So thank you very much for joining us. If you're tuning live on Facebook, good morning to you. And I want to shout out all the folks who are celebrating their happy birthday this month. This is Leo season, my favorite season, my month season. So happy birthday to all the Leos. I want to shout out my parents who always tuned in. Mother, father, Crystalline and Dalma, Alexis, good morning to you. And this morning our focus is on maritime. Now, maritime refers to anything related to the ocean or the sea. So that's what we're going to explore this morning. Things related to the ocean and things related to the sea. But guess which country? Our country, Dominica. And in studio we have the Maritime Administrator, Mr. Harold Geist, and also the Assistant, Miss Nawana Shillingford. Good morning to you guys and welcome to Talking Tourism.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm wonderful. How are you doing, Nawana?
Lovely.
Lovely. And Mr. Geist, how are you?
Very fine, thank you. Doing very well.
You said, why did you say first? What is the about? How has your morning been going so far?
Very good. Very good. So far, so very good. Praise God for that.
Wonderful. How about you, Nawana? How was the start to your beautiful Wednesday morning?
Lovely. I have this bubbly energy around me, and so this morning is very energetic.
Awesome.
And I'm happy to talk to everyone about maritime.
Nice. Mr. Geese, do you enjoy swimming? How often do you get into the water?
Well, as often as I can, but I'm a very good swimmer. Also a snorkeler. So
nice.
I do get into the sea from time to time.
I went snorkeling on my birthday. I almost died, but it was a great experience.
What? Okay, so I guess we'll have to talk about.
No, it wasn't a scary experience. I think at some point I forgot I was supposed to breathe a particular way, like don't breathe for your nose or try to breathe for your mouth. So water entered. I was coughing for a little while. It was a little dramatic, but I enjoyed it. I appreciated the experience.
Well, we need to talk to you on safety at sea,
I think that component would be for me in particular. And something to note, the island where I snorkeled, most of the coral reefs were dead. And I remember having someone, I think Wes or someone else in studio, and we were talking about Dominica's coral reef and how vibrant it is and how we're treating our coral reefs. So when I saw this dying in my mind, I'm like, I need to tell all these people to come to Dominica.
So exactly. And people don't think about maritime that way. But when we talk about the marine space being protected so that we will have, coral reefs to see when we go snorkeling, maritime encompasses all of that. So take example, our marine reserve in Soufriere Scott's Head. And while that falls under the purview of fisheries, maritime still has a part to play in, giving advice on laws and policies for what happens in the maritime space.
I agree. Certainly. Well, I learned a lot that day, and it made me appreciate Dominica even more. Yes. So, guys, and I did tell them come to Dominica to see some real coral reefs. So, I would have encouraged the persons to come across to our waters to explore the amazing things that we have to offer.
Yes, we still have some of the most pristine coral reefs in the world. You know, Dominica is a world-renowned country when it comes for corals. So the areas where you probably saw dead ones, it's probably due to there is a disease now, a coral disease that is affecting our coral. That could be a reason. But also to land-based sources of marine pollution can also contribute to the death of corals. And also the nature of our country too, in terms of our many rivers and the sedimentation, the silt that goes down into the sea ever so often, especially now with climate change and intense weather, this could also contribute to that as well.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, but I'm happy that Dominica is doing what we need to do to ensure that we protect our coral reefs.
Yes.
But we're talking more about maritime in detail. We want to find out all the details about maritime so persons out there will get to understand what you're doing and what we need to continue to do to play our part. So let's talk about maritime. What is maritime and what is maritime concerned with?
Okay. This is a question that the general public asks. When they ask me, what do you do? And I say, well, I work with maritime. They say, what is that? So it's a wonderful opportunity for us to be able to educate the public on this subject and the importance of maritime. To a country like Dominica, we are surrounded by the ocean. We are an island, and therefore we have more marine space than we have land space. And it is very important that we take care of what we have. You know, so maritime is concerned with shipping, commercial trade, particularly the safety and security of shipping. It is concerned with protection of the marine environment, for prevention of pollution from ships and shipping activity and other activities, human activity in the ocean. People tend to believe that the ocean is a big reservoir to absorb rubbish, and this is a gross misconception. We need to make sure that the ocean is kept clean, free of human interference as much as possible as it relates to pollution. And then oil pollution, as you may well know, is a big issue. And there are other forms of pollution in terms of dumping things in the ocean, throwing old fridge in the sea, and all manner of things. You know, there is an expression where it is said that what the eyes does not see, the heart does not grieve. So therefore, if you see rubbish on the land, it will be an eyesore. But if it is in the ocean, most people don't see it, and therefore they think it's okay. It is not okay to dump rubbish into the sea. So maritime is also concerned with seaports that receive vessels and loading of cargo and commerce and trade. Maritime is also related to navigation, maritime transportation. A lot of the goods, if, for example, for Dominica, it is done by maritime transport. It's done by shipping. There is very little cargo that comes in by air. So that makes it a big issue for us in terms of trade and commerce in this country. It is also concerned with shipping agents, shipping companies. So you would have, for example, like Tropical Shipping and some other companies that engage in trade, and it's only mainly marine transportation that is used for that kind of trade. So that is very important as well. Maritime is also concerned with tourism. For example, one of the biggest tourism activities we have going for Dominica is cruise tourism.
Yes.
That is also done with ships and maritime transport. Then also too, maritime is concerned with yachting. Yachting is another tourism product that Dominica is trying to develop at this time, particularly in the Portsmouth area. And then there are some also good things about it, and there are also some downsides about it, which we will talk about, but it all refers to maritime, and also it is concerned with a global governance system for really the rules of the road in the ocean when you have ships moving back and forth and carrying cargo and carrying tourists and carrying oil and all these things. So maritime is very broad, and for a country like Dominica, it is of extreme importance to us because 90% probably of all trade in Dominica is done for maritime transport and maritime and shipping.
Yeah.
So this, in a nutshell, encompasses what we will be talking about this morning in its various forms and in detail. But it is something that most of our people are not aware of or take for granted. But then it is very important that we educate our public on this matter.
Mm-hmm. I always say that our maritime also encompasses things like seafarers. And who are seafarers? Those are the people who work on vessels, on shipping, on ships, on cruise ships. Maritime also encompasses the delineation of maritime boundaries. So what is our marine space? And I always say that maritime is, the silent machine working in the back, because there are many stakeholders to maritime. As Mr. Geese pointed out, it encompasses fishing, tourism, ports, customs, but you won't necessarily see us, as the face of maritime, because maritime really encompasses or deals with the laws and policies that talks about the shipping. So how should ships enter our ports? What types of ships? What types of ships can be registered under our flag? And so maritime is this umbrella sector that really deals or touches with the ocean. Everything to do with the ocean, just think about maritime.
I agree, definitely all encompassing. Is the word maritime or maritime? I've heard some people say mari and marine.
Maritime.
Yeah.
It's maritime and not maritime.
Yes.
Maritime.
Okay, wonderful. So this brings me to my next question. We have sometimes heard of the IMO, the acronym IMO.
Yeah.
So what is IMO and how is it involved in maritime?
So the IMO is actually the International Maritime Organization. They are based in London, and they are a United Nations specialized agency just to deal with the ocean, just to deal with shipping. And this organization helps to create or is the secretariat for many conventions or international laws that deal with maritime, from protection to payments, if there are oil spills, to navigation. And so this organization really aids countries who are member states, which of course Dominica is a member state to the IMO, who assists countries to, implement international laws into their national laws so that we can have, safe shipping, we can have clean oceans. And so the maritime, or the IMO, the International Maritime Organization, is really that umbrella UN organization that we look to for maritime laws and policies.
Are you able to share some of these laws with us?
Yes. So I think Mr. Geese was alluding to that. And one of the most important is the International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution from Ships, or MARPOL, as we know it in the maritime sector. And in the maritime sector, we are known for a lot of acronyms because there are many laws. There's maybe close to 100 conventions that deal with maritime. And so let's go back to MARPOL, which is the convention dealing with the prevention of pollution. MARPOL has, its main laws or its main rules. And then, of course, it has what it's called, its secondary rules called annexes. And the annexes deal with everything from oil pollution to garbage to sewage to even air pollution. And so when we think about the shipping industry and the shipping sector and what can be done to by our seafarers and ship owners, there are many things or many laws or many rules that everybody has to adhere to ensure that everybody can enjoy the marine space, including our recreational users. So, for example, under MARPOL, we're not supposed to, throw or discharge our sewage in anywhere. It would not be good for your health if a boat or a cruise or yacht comes onshore and discharges their sewage. And so that's why these types of international laws are important to guide the shipping sector. And that's why it's important that we include them in our laws so that persons who visit our maritime space know what to do. And of course, us as Dominicans using the maritime space know what to do. Mr. Geese, will you speak on SOLAS?
Yeah, well, just to continue, in terms of the IMO, the IMO actually is the governance system for everything that takes place in the ocean to prevent chaos and confusion, so that there is an orderly conduct of business as we know it in the oceans of the world. And as Ms. Shillingford was speaking about pollution, as you may be aware, vessels that ply the oceans generate waste as they move around.
Sure.
So for example, can you imagine how much kitchen waste, for example, that a cruise ship would generate with quite a few 100 persons on board on just one cruise? You understand? And then also to how much fuel that they use and how much emissions that they emit into the atmosphere using fossil fuel. And some of the ships use a heavy bunker fuels that emit a lot of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Then you can also well understand that persons on a cruise, for example, would be using toilet facilities and bathroom facilities. And then MAPOL seeks to get countries to agree not to discharge this waste material into the ocean, because it is detrimental to the ocean. It's a form of pollution. And as a result, member states of MAPOL have agreed to, in some cases, put in place what is called reception facilities. In other words, if a vessel comes to Dominica and we have agreed to do that, we will in fact accept to take the sewage of the ship and put it into some area where it is away from the ocean, like in a proper disposal area. And then there is but we in Dominica, we do not have the facility to accept sewage and garbage from kitchen waste, because you can well understand that if you are to take kitchen waste from a cruise ship or any other ship for that matter, that if there are any pathogens in the cabbage that they use, or in the carrots, or in any vegetable material, and we bring it to our landfill, we stand the risk of introducing invasive and foreign organisms into our agricultural sector.
Yep.
We are an agricultural country, and we need to protect our country from these types of invasive species. So therefore, MAPOL takes care of that as well. In Dominica, we only handle solid waste. So if the ship has a table or a chair or an old bed that they want to get rid of, through the Ministry of Health, Environmental Health, we're able to go and take a look at it and assess the situation and provide that kind of service. But it is an obligation, because we are a signatory to the convention that says that countries are to provide facilities for disposal of waste from ships. So that's another aspect. But then the IMO deals with the overall governance of shipping activity and ocean activities. So in that regard, several countries of the world have signed on to the IMO, and we're trying to work together to see how we do safe and secure shipping and prevention of pollution of the marine environment.
And how do you feel about Dominica and our role in protecting the environment, where all these things are concerned?
Okay. I think Dominica is at a good standpoint. I think we are resilient, and when we speak about resilient, we touch every sector, maritime included. And as you're hearing, and I hope the audience can appreciate, that maritime really does touch a lot of other sectors that may be related to the ocean. We are, and you have heard, and I'm thankful to be part of this project, that we are establishing a sperm whale reserve. And that is a marine protected area that will, of course, not just protect our citizens, or citizens in the sea, I call them.
250 strong.
Yes, 250 strong. And of course, there were some births over the summer, so that's very exciting. Yes, I got to see a video of one. And Mona, when you were talking about your snorkeling experience, I had a similar one.
You almost died?
Well, I was swallowing water instead of breathing, but
Fail.
I did go to swim with the whales. And so that was a very majestic experience that I think if you have the opportunity, every Dominican should experience. But really, when we're talking about protecting our marine space, maritime does play a role in that, not just with the assistance of establishing marine protected areas, but of course to implement laws that protect the marine space. So we're talking a lot about MARPOL, but especially things like ballast water. So what is ballast water? So when a ship is cruising on the water, sometimes it needs water to balance out. Sometimes it might need more or less, depending on, the depth of the ocean or the wave action or so on. And so sometimes on a voyage, you will pick up some water at some points and you will let go some water at some points. But that can cause invasive species like the lionfish that we have seen across the Caribbean to spread in environments that, is foreign to them. Of course, that can hinder the marine environment. We have seen with the lionfish how they take over everything and they eat, native species and so on. And so the IMO and, us as Dominica, we have laws dealing with ballast water, and we're implementing laws dealing with, ballast water and other things around the protection of the marine space.
And I'm happy that we're playing our part. And I commend you and your team for the work that you guys have been doing.
Yes.
And I too need to explore some of our waters. And as Dominicans on a whole, we need to explore, see what's underwater, to be part of the excitement. Tourists spend quite a lot of money to come to Dominica to venture underwater to look at our coral reefs or whales and the other aquatic life. So we too should know what's there so we can help in promoting the island. Let's talk about the boat owners and ship operators. What services does the Maritime Unit offer to the boat owners and ship operators to enable them or us to comply with these international maritime rules with regards to ship safety, for example?
Okay. Dominica, being a small island, is not exempt. It's not exempted from international rules that apply to maritime safety. And we at the Maritime Administration Unit, we work with our seafarers, we work with our boat owners and vessel owners to be able to ensure that safety is a number one issue. Because you can well understand, when you are in the sea, in the ocean, it's blue above and blue below. You cannot tell somebody, can I get off here, please? Like as if you were stopping on a highway.
Yes.
You are in the ocean.
Yes.
And the ocean is a very dangerous place. And therefore, the IMO has established a convention called Safety of Life at Sea. Convention, SOLAS, we call it for short. And then, therefore, there are several measures and several guidelines and principles that are in law that vessels should adhere to ensure safety at sea. One of the services that we provide is registration of vessels. So a vessel under the International Maritime Organization rules, any vessel within a certain size that is plying the oceans must be registered so that you can monitor and know what that vessel is doing in the ocean. It's part of the governance system. So we provide that service in Dominica to all local vessels and also to vessels in the region. We have some vessels that are registered with us that are from Antigua, they are from Grenada, and so on, and St. Martin, and then we register those vessels. And then part of the registration process has to do with inspection in terms of safety. We have to inspect the vessel for seaworthiness. So somebody who does not meet the requirements for seaworthiness of the vessel cannot be registered. It's just like you take your vehicle to the traffic department, and if you have certain don't meet the requirements for registration, you will not be registered until you fix the your vehicle, and then to be able to drive safely on the road. The same thing applies to the ocean. They need to be able to ensure that the vessels are intact, they are seaworthy to be able to go out into the ocean. So we do inspections of
But
the
do you
vessels.
conduct random checks? Because there are persons who are building vessels of different sorts, of different materials, and they go on water for different activities.
Yes. First of all, when someone comes to register, that's number one. We need to do an inspection of the vessel.
Yeah, an initial inspection.
And then there can be an intermediate inspection, because sometimes when you inspect the vessel, you may find that they do not have everything that is required for them to be able to operate efficiently. However, some of these things may not be able to prevent them from going out to sea. But however, it is something that is required to be done to ensure safety. So therefore, they may have 90% of the requirements, but we require 100. Because once you go into the sea, you require 100. So therefore, what we will do is we will say, okay, this cannot prevent you from navigating, but however, in the case you have a mishap at sea, you will have a problem. So therefore, we will give you 14 days to fix it, or we will give you 3 months to fix it, depending on what the problem is. So there we will do an interim inspection or a spot check. Now, in addition to that, other countries have the same rules like us.
Yes.
And therefore, if the vessel goes to Antigua, the Antigua Port Authority, a maritime authority, can board that vessel and do a spot check.
Yeah.
And then if they find that vessel wanting in any area, they will call the Dominican Maritime Administration, under whose flag that vessel is registered, and they say, we found a vessel of yours having this problem and that problem. What do you want us to do? So we can say, okay, what is the nature of the problem that you found? They say, well, we found that the bilge pump is not working. We found that the radio GPS is not functional. You understand? So therefore we'll say, okay, in a situation like this, an emergency, detain the vessel. So therefore, they have the power to detain a vessel, and the captain of the vessel cannot move that vessel until the problem is corrected.
Okay, well, that's wonderful. But I
Yes.
know situations, or there are likely situations where persons would not register. We'll talk about registration soon and how persons can register to be part of the organization. But I know there are situations, or I've heard of situations where persons have not registered their vessels, but they still venture out in the ocean. So I was inquiring whether or not you do random checks, meaning you go to different communities and just different times and days, just do the checking of the different vessels to ensure that persons are registered. If they're not, take certain actions to ensure that they're registered. Is that something that your organization do?
Yes.
Yes. All of our vessels, as far as we know, are registered. Persons who purchase new vessels, they come to us before the vessel arrives in the country, so that they can make sure that everything is in order for registration. Now, you may find that there's a Dominican vessel that is registered in St. Vincent. It is not registered in Dominica, although it is Dominican owned, but it is registered in Grenada or in St. Vincent or in Barbados. Now, that is not an issue. The thing is that they would have to have an IMO number and so on, but it is registered, but that's not a problem.
Then wonderful. So that leads me to the next question. Let's talk about registering. What is the process for registering a vessel in Dominica?
Okay. To register a vessel in Dominica, first of all, we need to verify ownership of the vessel. We need to ensure that the person who is coming forward to register the vessel is in fact the owner of the vessel. And the person has to give proof of ownership. And the proof of ownership is a bill of sale or a receipt that they have purchased a vessel, and it has to be notarized so that we make sure that it is legal and that this person is not just coming and fronting or putting some bogus document before the administration. And then once this is done, if the vessel is a vessel that is purchased from someone who operated in another country, they have to present what we call a certificate of deletion. That is to say that they have to delete their registration from the previous registration, whether it be over most times it will be overseas. So they have to present a certificate of deletion that this vessel is no longer registered in that country, and it is now being registered in Dominica, because under the international law, a vessel cannot be registered in two countries.
Yes.
It must be one country. So we need to see that the registration of that vessel has been deleted from its original registry. Then we also need to have proof of insurance, because you well understand that in the ocean it is very risky outside there, and then there are accidents that can happen in the ocean, and then insurance is very important for seafarers to be able to have a means of redressing matters that could probably occur. Two vessels could collide. You know, the vessel could come and bounce on the docks. You know, if you have wave action close to the shore. In other words, the vessel could get damaged. The cargo of the vessel also needs to be insured sometimes, to in case there is a mishap, there's difficulties, and so therefore that is another matter. And then also too, the owners of the vessel need to present us with a certified captain. You know, you cannot just say I am a captain of a vessel because I own a vessel, and therefore you just drive in the vessel. The owner must present a certified captain. So the captain must present a certificate.
Yep. And that again
of competence.
That again falls under another international rule, which is the International Convention for Standards of Training and Certification and Watchkeeping for Seafarers. And so we see how the international rules play into even the registration process for our vessels. So thank you so much, Mr. Gis, for pointing that out. And what are the other steps for registering a vessel?
Okay. And also the vessel must be fit for purpose. In other words, someone ought not to come to the administration with a fishing vessel, and then he wants us to register him as a cargo vessel. You understand? It must be fit for purpose. Now this is very important, because depending a fishing vessel would have a different design from a cargo vessel. You understand? The deck layout will be different. They would have winches, and they would have hydraulic systems for pulling nets and hauling, things like that, whereas a cargo vessel would not have none of those things. So it is very important that we, for example, somebody who has a yacht and they want to register to carry just, like, for example, passengers and so on. So there are special requirements that they need to have to be able to do those things. Second, and another thing is that they need to be able to satisfy all the requirements for safety. Safety of the crew, safety of the vessel itself. So they would have to do, for example, if a vessel wants to carry 20 passengers and 3 crew members, so that's 14 people, they must have at least 14 life jackets on the vessel. And you'll find some people tell you they want to carry 20 people and they have 10 life jackets. This you will not pass the registration. You understand? So it is very important that we have these things, and then they have to have firefighting equipment. Because a fire on board a vessel is not an easy task. It is a confined area, and then it is closed, and the fire is raging on the inside, and there are people on the inside. This is something that is almost, you cannot afford to have a fire on a vessel.
It's true.
So they need to have fire extinguishers, fire hose, depending on the size of the vessel, a fire pump. And for larger vessels above 24 meters, they need to have firefighting training as part of what Ms. Shillingford was talking about, the STCW.
They would have to present proof that they attended
Oh, yes.
training.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, yes. Now, one of the things that we have encountered several times is that people present bogus documents.
Yes.
Now, the IMO has set up a system whereby all training institutions have a database of persons that have been trained in their system, wherever they may be. It could be Panama, it could be Antigua, it could be Honduras, Samoa, wherever. And then when they come and they say, well, I'm a captain and I want to operate this vessel. You request the certificate. And then sometimes you can tell where they have doctored
Oh, wow.
the information, and they are truly they are not certified. Not that they don't have experience, because there are some persons who work on vessels that are apprentices, and because they are an apprentice, over a long time they learn how to do the thing. But under IMO, they require that persons are trained for the work that they are going to do on a particular vessel. For example, we need to have a trained engineer
Yes.
on a vessel that is above 24 meters. So the person must know how to repair an engine at sea in the event that it breaks down, and then they are just drifting in the ocean into no man's land. So these are very important things. Now, the thing with an engineer is that he needs to be able to work in a confined space, because the engine room is down in the bottom of the vessel, and it might be hot down there if the engine is not working, and so on and so forth. And then we also want to make sure that they have an auxiliary engine. They have a standby in the event that their main engine goes bad. Then they need to have a fire pump, a hose, like the fire truck, on some of those vessels, to be able to do that. Now, in order for them to be able to effectively use this equipment, they need to be trained. So they need to provide to us that they have certified basic firefighting and advanced firefighting. And for the vessels that are above 24 meters, they require to have a fire plan, an evacuation procedure. How do you proceed in the event that there is a fire? What do you do? Who do you call? Or who does what? That must be written on in a particular conspicuous place on the ship, so that everybody knows what to do in the event that there is a fire. You understand? And then they have to have a fire suit as well, like how the Swedish firemen have with the oxygen tank. So it is very much involved, and then it is all for the safety of the individuals concerned. So
You mentioned several processes or requirements
Yes.
for registering. The question is, where can people find this information?
So I want to thank Mr. Gies, because he really did explain to our audience some of the documents or information that is required. And again, just to reiterate that every vessel plying the waters has to be registered. It's like the birth certificate of the vessel. And in Dominica, if you do want to know about the documents that are required for registration, you can go to dominica.gov.dm and click on the laws tab and look for the International Maritime Act or International Maritime Regulations, which will list all these documents. However, we are in the process of launching a site. So soon, very soon, I want to say within 2 months, we will have a website where our clients can come to submit those registration documents. And that site, of course, will list the documents. It will explain to you, the registration process. Currently, we are doing it physically at our office at the Maritime Unit on the third floor of government headquarters. That's, the tourism sector in that building. But you can visit us. Like I said, we will be online soon. And of course, if you visit the government e-services website, you can also find information on the documents that is needed to register under the Dominican flag. And just to reiterate the process, you do approach us with the appropriate documents. You do pay for us to carry on an inspection to ensure that you are seaworthy.
What is the cost?
The cost of the inspection depends on the size of the vessel.
Okay.
Mr. Gis, will you give us an example?
Well, from $150 for the smaller vessels.
Yeah, so about $150.
$2,000 for the bigger vessels.
Yeah, for vessels
So it
maybe
ranges from 150 to
to
about
2,000.
2,000.
Yes, depending on your size of your vessel. After we have conducted the inspection, we will notify you whether you have passed, aka you are seaworthy or not. Again, Mr. Geese talked about a provisional certificate where we do want to register you, but there are some things that you need to fix. If you have fixed them, you come back to us. We carry on another inspection to ensure that you have fixed it according to the laws and policies. And then, of course, we should issue a certificate of registration if all the documents submitted are correct, if you have passed your inspection, and if you have made your payments, and we are satisfied that you are safe and secure to ply the waters of Dominica or anywhere, in the Caribbean or the world.
Is there a number to call?
Yes, Mr. Gis?
Yes.
Some persons may prefer to call to ask some questions before they come
Sure.
into the office.
So
Can
the
you provide a number?
numbers for the Maritime Unit include 266-3071, 266-3527, and 266-3122.
All right, so we got that. So very interesting. If you want to, you cannot go on the water if you're not registered.
Yes.
At least ensure that you're safe. Safety is your responsibility. If you want to ensure that you are safe and your crew, staff, your customers are safe, do ensure that you are registered and follow the guidelines. Mr. Gis?
Yeah, I just wanted to just put in something here. Under international maritime law, if a vessel is not registered, it is considered like a ghost vessel.
Yes.
And if you catch that ghost vessel, international law dictates that it should be scrapped.
Yes.
Oh, ghost
So
like a pirate.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So it's like anywhere. You don't have to be in Dominica. You could be a Dominican owning a vessel that is not registered, so it doesn't have a flag, and you can be detained in any waters. You can be detained in Antiguan waters. You can be detained on the high seas if you are found, and you could be fined. You could be jailed, and so that's the importance of maritime and the application of international maritime laws and policies.
All right, so it's almost time to wrap up, but I have this in question for you because I want to know about what is going to be happening in September. So we understand that there's an upcoming meeting of the IMO in September on reduction of the greenhouse gases emissions from ships. Can you tell us more about that? And are there implications for Dominica?
Yeah. Okay. So on this radio show, we've talked a lot about of MARPOL. Remember, the International Convention on the Prevention of Pollution from Ships.
Yes.
And in its Annex 6, it deals with air pollution. That is the greenhouse gas emissions from shipping. And of course, IMO wants, or is an agency that wants to help its member states to adhere to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. That is to bring the emissions of greenhouse gases to zero by 2050. And this is IMO's policy and the rationale for creating Annex 6 of MARPOL. So in September, the International Maritime Organization Marine Protection Environment Committee is meeting to talk about amendments to MARPOL Annex 6. So we're talking about laws and the changes to laws as to how much a vessel, how much greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, sulfur oxide, that a vessel should emit, what mechanisms can be taken by vessels to reduce their emissions, what adaptation strategies should be taken by our vessel owners to reduce their emissions, and just those general rules on not just shipping, but we're trying to make amendments so that it includes adaptation of our ports, to do things like have renewable energy generators at our ports. So when a vessel, for example, a cruise ship visits the port, its engines never go off. It still needs to have the AC running and so on. But while at the port, this can cause a lot of emissions of carbon dioxide. And so if we can switch maybe to a solar power generator or a wind or water power generator at our ports, that would help with the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions at our ports and, of course, in shipping in general. And so we are going as a delegation representing Dominica as a member state of IMO. Presently, we've supported a paper put together by Belize and the rest of the Caribbean, including Pacific Island states, that want to put forth our own amendments to MARPOL Annex 6 so that our ship owners and seafarers, get the type of assistance, funding, capacity building to be able to make that change so that we too can play our part in reducing greenhouse gas emissions from shipping. Yes.
All right, guys, so it's almost time for us to wrap up this morning. And I know you, Mr. Gist, you're likely very excited to travel to that convention.
Yes, I am. Because at this convention, we are going to negotiate terms and conditions by which this reduction in emissions from ships is to occur. Because as you will understand, it does not happen by magic.
No.
There is going to be a transition from where we are now until we achieve net zero in 2050. The transition is that countries have to retrofit vessels or just adapt or get new technology that is zero emissions from these vessels, alternative fuels,
Yes, definitely.
and new port arrangements, because you can well understand if vessels start using ammonia instead of diesel, that there is a whole infrastructure that has to be put in place for storage of ammonia, dispensing of ammonia, and also both on the land side and also on the vessel.
Yeah.
Then if you decide to have an electric boat, then you also have to have charging ports and so on. And then, as from a maritime standpoint, I am very happy that our geothermal plant is coming up and will soon be in effect, because part of this transition is to be able to connect vessels on the port side. When they come into port, connect them to an electricity source from a clean source of energy, so that they do not keep belching carbon dioxide into the air.
Wonderful.
So they will have to shut off their engines and we plug them in. So we are in a good position when our geothermal plant comes on stream for us to be probably the number one country that can do that in clean energy,
Yes.
to reduce emissions. So we are going.
And I definitely look forward to that. I apologize for having to cut you off. It's almost time for us to wrap up on today's program. I know maritime is very exciting. It's an interesting topic. Everything that deals with the sea and the ocean, it's
So,
maritime. So there's lots
you'll
to
have
discuss.
to invite us back.
Yes, we will be back. But just before you leave, I want you to give your final thoughts in 30 seconds. Yeah, so we'll start with you, Mr. Gist.
Well, 30 seconds. I was not finished with what I was talking about, but we are going to London so that we can negotiate good terms and conditions for the transition from where we are now to net zero emissions in 2050.
And I think I want to take a statement from Mr. Geese to say, maritime is important. No shipping, no shopping. And it it moves even past that. It moves past just the economy. It moves to just the marine environment, the protection or use of it, our citizens in the sea, everything that deals with the sea, maritime touches. And I appreciate everybody in the audience, the Dominican public, for wanting to find out about maritime and, of course, playing their part to keep our maritime space, clean, green, and protected.
I want to thank you very much, Noana and Mr. Noana Shillingford and Mr. Harold Geist, for joining me here on Talking Tourism. There's lots to discuss. Again, Mr. Geist, I apologize for cutting you off, but we have met our time. But you will be back another time for another program of Talking Tourism. So if you're in Dominica for the first time, I welcome you to the Nature Island. If you're here, remember, when you're here, ensure you enjoy our environment, respect our people, and respect yourself. And most importantly, in Dominica, have fun, dive, snorkel, do fun things. There are many things to explore on 767, the Nature Island, the land of the gold Olympic medals. Yes, that's Dominica. We welcome you. Explore and have fun. My name is Monel Alexis. It has been my absolute pleasure to be your host, and I will see you next week Thursday right here on DBS Radio for Talking Tourism. Take care now. And of course, that's next week Wednesday. See you next week Wednesday, guys. Yes, not Thursday, Wednesday. Bye-bye now.